Hey everybody, I'm Mike with Budget Guns and Gear Reviews, and this is The Right of the People, where we use the first to defend the second every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. So uncover your keyboards and fire up your fingers. It's time to join the conversation.
Okay, so my panel, can you hear me? Let's see if I can hear you.
I hear you.
Holy
Coming in loud and clear.
cow, I think maybe we might have a show now that everybody else has like heard me spurg out and get mad and rage quit. So
it helps sometimes to blow off steam, man.
let's try this again. I'm Mike. This is MK Outdoor General, and you are watching The Right of the People. No, it is not Friday. It is Saturday, July 3rd, 2021. And I would like to start by wishing my little brother a happy birthday. You little dweeb. I'd like to say hello to my esteemed panel and thank them for being here. We got Rich White in the house. How you doing, sir?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for the invite. It's been a while since I've been on, so.
Well,
Thanks
you know, you're always welcome whenever you decide to come, man. I'm happy to have you. Speaking of happy to have him, we got the one, the only, the irascible yet lovable Squiblode. How are you, sir?
Coming to you tonight from one of my B channels. Glad to be here. And happy Independence Day weekend, everybody.
Out in the chat, we got Jason Stewart being a trooper and coming back for the reignition of this dumpster fire. Midnight Range out there being the same old Midnight Range pancake boy food poisoner that he is. Got Paige in the dark here voting for number 3. And then George Washington, the founding father, coming on back for a second helping of this garbage. Plus, hey, all the rest of you out there who are actually watching this second attempt after the first failed disaster that we had a little bit ago. I do appreciate you coming back and giving this stuff a second chance. Whew. Let me go back to my topics and make sure that I got... Hey, that's where I want to be. We got lots to talk about today. Although, I tell you what, yesterday, first off, I have to apologize. Yesterday, I got into doing some stuff that was a little bit more involved than I thought. I ended up going to a flea market because we have here in Eastern Ohio one of the largest flea markets anywhere, Rogers Community Auction and Flea Market. You can find pretty much anything there. For instance, they had everything from socks to squad automatic weapons. There was a guy selling a semi-auto version of a saw for $12,500 there. Wanted to buy it. Didn't want the divorce that would happen. Although it did make my son very happy to pick it up and get to giggle with it. So it's just the kind of thing you can find there. So I went there and it took a little bit longer than I wanted. But yeah, maybe at some point this summer I'll go back and when the weather's better and there's more people there and whatnot, do some content from there. Were one of you going to say something?
What did they want for an M249?
I don't know.
You don't want to say? Oh, you said squad automatic weapon.
I saw, yeah. Well, I figured someone would say, you know, yeah, they got a handsaw there, which there were several of those too. But no, there was an M249 there, and my son was really, really happy. I've got a picture of him holding it. He was quite happy. Matter of fact, let me see if I can pull that up, because he was a happy, happy fellow to be holding that. And he's like, oh, this is lighter than I thought. Then the guy selling says, yeah, carry that thing around for 12 hours and then come tell me about how light it is.
Yeah, they told us we could jump from rooftop to rooftop as we took over a city with them, and I don't doubt that. But after about the third rooftop, I'm sure you'd be going, this is getting heavy.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Those things would get heavy up there.
There's the picture of him holding it. He was quite happy. I should put that on the IG, but there we go. As you can see, the big ass grin. But he said that made the whole trip worth going. So he spotted it before I did. He spotted it from like half the row away. But anyhow, I'll end up going back there and maybe doing a video or two from there about it and whatnot. But yeah, then I ended up getting into some other stuff and is like, you know what? I just didn't have time yesterday to get my research done for this. Because believe it or not, I don't wing this, even though the production quality is so low and the technical difficulties, which struck again today, and you know the fact that normally I sound like I don't know what I'm talking about. I do try to prepare for this show and try not to wing it. So I didn't get any research done, and yeah, I was like, you know what, I'm going to postpone it till today. So that's what we did, and today I ended up making a pile of. Well, starting on, those of you who've been following my Instagram will have already seen that I'm doing this. And those of you that aren't following my Instagram probably should. But anyhow, the Instagram folks will know that I making holsters again. Finally started working. No, this isn't supposed to be Texas. These are holster blanks. So I got a bunch of them cut out and dyed and some parts burnished and whatnot today. I'm going to try to finish some of them up later. Those are for Heritage Rough Rider / Ruger Wrangler. So yeah, I've done leatherwork as a hobby for years and just haven't been lately. So decided to get back into it. Maybe raise a few extra dollars. So yeah. All right, everybody who's going to be here probably is here now. Let me go out there and welcome the rest of them who showed up. We got Patriot in the Dark Squib, Lift Midnight Range, DTEP62, how you doing? George Washington caught back. They probably cut the stream due to the comments. Nope, I cut the stream because I was having trouble with having a little technical difficulties, and I rage quit, not going to lie. So, but I was like, you know what? Actually, these guys on the panel are like, so we're going to do this again? So I'm like, yeah, because I was just going to rage quit. But I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I came back and tried again, right? The show must go on, right? Defense Dad is out there. Midnight, yeah, I will absolutely make them for the 6.5 inch if somebody wants one. Not a problemo. So.
The real question is, would you make them for the 16 inch?
If somebody wanted to pay me to, I'd make a custom leather gimp suit for them. I don't care. As long as you're paying, I'll make whatever you want. So, if that answers your question, yes, I'd make them for the 16 inch. So, all right. Go ahead. I just heard somebody on
Yeah, I was going to say, it would be funny to see somebody walking down the street with one of those 16 inches and a holster on their belt.
I'm thinking about making a holster for my Henry lever action axe.
Oh, yeah.
Really thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, that would be just like the mare's leg that Steve McQueen carried.
Yep.
In Wanted Dead or Alive. I mean, they
really,
make holsters for the mare's leg. So.
What it would end up being is a long version of this. Which this, by the way, is the prototype of the holster I'm making for the the Rough Rider. This one ain't for sale. It's going to be mine because the stitching on the back is messed up. I didn't get the thread tension right, and stitching it perfectly functional, but I would never let this come out of my shop. But now that I think I've got the thread tension problem licked and figured out, I'm going to go ahead and just make a bunch of them. It's the first I've ever really used. Actually, it is the first I've used a sewing machine for leather projects. All the other times I've done it, everything's been hand stitched. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, that takes a long ass time. So if you wonder why you pay so much for handmade leather goods, that's why. It's the time. It's not that the materials are horrifically expensive, although it can be. With premium leathers and whatnot, it can be expensive. What you are paying for with handmade leather goods is the craft person's time and skill and experience. That's what you're paying for. And if they're worth the crap, it's absolutely worth that expense. But enough of that. We got some other stuff to talk about. That's, actually what the show's about. instead of me doing. Oh, okay. instead of me doing the Two Live Moose says dibs on the gimp suit. Anyhow, David Chipman, Joe Biden's wonderful nominee for director of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, is under fire. Not just because he's an anti-gun POS, but because, well, he just might be a racist. Let's check this article out from the Gun Feed. This is a release from the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms. CCRKBA demands investigation into racist David Chipman's white supremacy views/statements. Bellevue, Washington. The Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms today is demanding an immediate investigation into allegations that David Chipman, nominated to head the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, made a derogatory comment about African-American ATF agents cheating to pass an agency selection exam while he was serving with the agency in Detroit in 2007. CCRKBA Chairman Alan Gottlieb, who is pretty damn cool. If you ever get a chance to talk with him, said that the allegations are alarming and incredibly disturbing. With the racist history of gun control and past racist enforcement practices going back to Reconstruction, Gottlieb said, the last thing we need is someone heading the ATF who not only wants to ban black guns, but also denigrates black people, including his own colleagues. It's impossible for the Biden administration to not have known about this, he continued. A watchdog group has filed a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit concerning this allegation, and we believe this must be investigated, or Chipman's nomination should be rejected immediately. According to a report at the Daily Caller, Chipman allegedly remarked to a fellow ATF agent in Detroit, "Wow, there were an unusually large number of African-American agents that passed the exam this time. They must have been cheating." Wow, he actually said that? Holy cow. The story said the alleged remark was reported to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and the story said Chipman told Senator Ted Cruz in writing that the 2 EEOC complaints had been resolved without any finding of discrimination and no disciplinary action was taken against me. This is a serious issue, Gottlieb stated, and it needs to be investigated now before the Senate is asked to take any action. If Chipman made such a statement, it's a slap in the face to millions of African-American gun owners, and Democrats should be ashamed and embarrassed that Biden nominated him for such an important position. Chipman's nomination has already raised several red flags for America's gun owners, he noted. But this new allegation is simply toxic, and we cannot allow the Biden administration and Senate Democrats to just ignore it. If that's the course they plan to take, then Chipman's nomination must be rejected. And you know what? I agree. You know, I do not, generally speaking, condone the playing of the race card. I really don't. I think it's a cheap tactic, and generally, it is the tactic of desperation. But, and I know you're supposed to stay to the left of the but in this case, I say, first off, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, because the other side wouldn't hesitate to slap this out on a pro-gun ATF nominee. And second, the fact is, if he said this shit, there is no way he should be heading a government agency. Just on that alone. Because that kind of thing isn't tolerated and tolerable in today's day and age. What do you guys think? Is this something that should automatically disqualify him from service as the ATF head, in addition to all of his anti-gun work, literally, and attitudes and stance? Or is this just a desperate attempt by pro-gun forces to try to discredit Joe Biden's nominee?
Well, it should, but when you look at things his prospective boss has said on the floor of the Senate, and then when he was running for president coming out with poor kids are as smart as white kids, it ain't going to matter a hill of beans, to be perfectly honest. The Democrats are going to try and push him through no matter what he says. He can come out tomorrow and say that black people make good targets and nobody will give a shit on that party. They'll still vote to put the guy in. Since it's a appointment, you can't filibuster it. I mean, he'd have to come out and say something really bad or do something really bad as in criminal, and I mean severely criminal, for him not to end up being put in that position. Which is sad to say, but that's just the reality of it.
Do you have an opinion on this you care to share, Squib?
If he's a racist in his personal life, that's his personal right and his personal, if we're truly free, like some people say, where you can say and do anything and there's no consequences or whatever, then, so be it. Professionally in his job, if he can separate that, then it really shouldn't matter. The problem is how many people can really separate that, and how many people who are above their employees, even if they know them, how many of them can really professionally say, I don't trust you to separate that. The thing is, he made these statements while on the job, so that kind of shows that professionally he could be that way. This was a while back, so you could argue that he's changed his mind over time, and that's a plausible argument. The overall situation, though, is that his boss, the illegitimate president of the United States of America, is a racist. So, I mean, two birds of a feather. And you can go, well, what about Kamala Harris? Well, one, she's not really black. And two, they put her in there to get the black female vote. So, and other presidents have had other vice presidents run with them that were from the opposite party to get that party's vote. This is a normal political thing. But I don't expect the average person to want to have the intelligence to study history and see this, or have the intelligence to be able to look at that, or even have the common, I don't even want to call it sense, to say, I'm this way, I'm religious personally, but I don't talk religion at work, right? You can separate your personal life from your professional life. So as with so many other things, I don't expect the average American to live up to that title, American, the best in the world, and see this for what it is. Personally, I don't think he should be in there, but it's because of his track record as a professional. If this adds to that, fine, so be it. But I'm not looking for a technicality or nickel and dime to get this guy out. That's a sign of desperation and weakness, and I'm neither desperate nor weak.
I would say that you brought up the perfect rebuttal to that in what you said. In other words, I agree that personal and professional, if they're kept separate, the personal doesn't matter as long as it doesn't affect the professional. Because you're right, freedom, you're allowed, believe it or not, folks, you're allowed to believe what you want. You're allowed to say what you want. Now, you're not free from the consequences of what you say, but you are allowed to say it. In other words, you shouldn't be punished for saying something, but if say you're a business owner and you have a sign that's offensive to a lot of people in your window, you have every right to display that sign. But they also have every right not to do business with you. So, in this instance, Mr. Chipman is free to have whatever feelings, whatever leanings, whatever he wants. But he did allegedly make this statement on the job in reference to his job. And that, to me, would be a disqualification. Now, people out in the chat are absolutely correct in pointing out the double standard. That Democrats get away with racist crap all the time. And the other side of the aisle is excoriated for being racist when they don't do anything racist. So, I think that this whole thing, I think it's just another stone added to the pile. I think it's another brick chucked into the wheelbarrow of, these are reasons why this guy shouldn't have this job. Do I think it's number one? No. But do I think that it's something to put in with all the rest that everybody has to consider? Absolutely right. Personally, I think all the things he's been involved in as an ATF agent all the things he was involved in after leaving the ATF, all of that, he's shown that he can't separate his personal views from his work, because he took his personal views and made them his work. I think that should disqualify him from being head of the ATF. However, my opinion doesn't matter. Right now, it's the senators' opinions that matter. So, as I say at the end of every show, we need to put pressure on those people. We need to let those people know what we think about it. There are going to be a couple, 3 key senators to try to keep in lockstep on the pro-gun side, allegedly. And we're going to have to try to convert one, at least, from the other side. So, this is a tough road to hoe. I'm hoping that a lot of Democrat senators see this and the other things and hear enough from their constituents to know that voting for this guy, voting to confirm this guy, would be political suicide. That's my hope. However, you could have some party hack who says, you know what, I'm willing to do that because the party will help me out somewhere else. Who knows? Let's see what they say out in the chat. Midnight Range CM says everything's racist. Nobody gives a anymore. It won't go anywhere. His anti-2A gun thoughts are more important. An effective angle. I agree. D-Temp says, considering what I see from Democrats, I feel like most of them are racist. Rich White. Oh, well, you already did point out the poor kids and smart as white kids. Let's see. Pete says, the left can be racist and get away with it. We aren't racist and are being crucified for racism all the time. Yeah. Kingpin says the whole gun control is racist angle is a huge waste of time and really weak. Texas Bullet says, I don't like Chipman, so I hope he gets canceled for a funny race joke. Then Midnight Range points out that Maverick did, in fact, kill Goose. Let's see. D-Temp points out that it all depends on Mansion.
Wait.
I want to count on
Midnight. The ejection seats work separately. Goose committed suicide.
Yeah, and I would not count on Mansion. Trust me, being from West Virginia, I know. I've been in contact with his office on this, and they keep saying the same thing. But we need universal background checks. We need this and we need that. So yeah, don't count on Mansion to vote against Chipman. He may stand his ground on the filibuster issue. That remains to be seen. But on Chipman, no, he's going to cave.
D-Temp points out, didn't the Virginia governor, get away with blackface? Yeah. Yeah, he did. Patriot says words are one thing, but actions are what need to be looked at. Kingpins, do we not have any context before or after the statement? I don't see racism there. Tough road to hoe. He called roll call 2 on. Well, hey. Got to pay the bill sometime, or somehow, right? Okay, so there is that. The Biden's ATF nominee is being questioned about racist views in a possibly racist statement he said in 2007. Let me see what we have up next. Californians, I'm just going to say this. You people, the majority of the people in California, I can't say that you people completely, everybody in California, but the majority of the voters in California, y'all have lost your damn minds electing some of these people, particularly in San Jose. Because in San Jose, this is a piece from Fox Business, San Jose to tax gun owners will confiscate firearms for noncompliance. By Breck Dumas. Gun owners in San Jose, California will soon face a yearly tax and be required to carry additional insurance after their city council voted unanimously Tuesday evening to impose the new measures. The forthcoming fee for gun ownership in the city has not yet been determined, but officials said that anyone found to be in noncompliance will have their weapons confiscated. The City Council's aim is to try to recoup the cost of responding to gun incidents such as shootings and deaths. According to the Pacific Council on Research and Evaluation, which studied the issue and sent a representative to testify before the panel, gun-related incidents cost the city roughly $63 million every year in the way of paying for police officers, medics, and other expenses, the San Francisco Chronicle reported. The new measures come just weeks after a disgruntled Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority employee gunned down and killed 9 colleagues at a San Jose rail yard. San Jose-based Fox 2 reported that citizens weighed in on the proposal, with some praising the council for the measure and others condemning the move as unconstitutional. I strongly oppose more taxation on legal gun owners, San Jose resident Sasha Sherman told the council. Each time a gun owner buys ammunition, they pay an 11% tax, plus a background check fee. Another speaker argued it puts a financial burden on a constitutional right, which is the right to bear arms. While the council directed staffers to draft up the law for a final September vote, the dollar amount of the new tax for gun owners has not yet been determined. San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo suggested the new annual fine would likely be a couple $dozen and claimed insurers assured the city that firearms owners adding gun liability coverage to existing policies would cost the affected citizens little or nothing. But with no official registry of gun owners either locally or federally, officials recognize that enforcement of the forthcoming taxes and insurance requirements could be difficult, if not impossible. So, they said they would authorize any law enforcement officers to confiscate firearms of any gun owner they stumble upon who does not provide proof that they have complied. Crooks aren't going to follow this law, Liccardo told reporters. When those crooks are confronted by police and a gun is identified, and if they haven't paid the fee or insurance, it's a lawful basis for seizure of that gun. And there, in the last sentence, is the real reason they passed this ordinance. Because they know they can't enforce it. Not really, not directly. They can't directly go because they don't have a registry. Thank goodness, right? They can't go door to door, and you don't have your you don't have your taxes paid, you don't have proof of it? Well, we're going to take your gun. No. But anytime they come across a gun, if you don't provide their necessary papers, they'll take it. And that's the entire reason behind it, is to seize guns. Period. That's what I think. Now, I'm going to reserve my opinion on what I think will happen with this, because I'm going to let the panel speak, and then I'm going to go to the chat. But, yeah. Hey, speaking of the panel, Kingpin, welcome to the channel. Do you have some thoughts on this?
Thanks for having me. I just opened my email and saw that you sent me the link, so thanks for sending it to me. Glad to be with you.
I send you a link every week, brother. Anytime you want to join, you're welcome.
Yeah, I'm always watching, but Friday nights I'm always at work now. My work schedule is like 10 times more clogged up than it's ever been, so...
Real life comes first, man.
I'm always out there. I got my ear on the chat, though. You guys have been doing a great job. As far as the San Antonio thing goes, I mean, obviously it is what it is. I think trying to figure out a good way to convince the normies that their toaster is next, or their car is next, or, you know, whatever they think, because that's all it's going to do. If they can charge a tax to gun owners because people abuse guns, they're going to do that with the next thing too. All they got to do is get in the door with one, and they'll be able to do it with whatever they want.
Yep.
And obviously the gun thing, that's totally egregious, and I think it's really, really disgusting, but I think that they got bigger plans than just that.
Gentlemen, either one of you, go ahead, speak. I'm not going to call on people individually. We're all adults. We know how to talk.
I just think it's funny how they try and use the cost of law enforcement and EMTs for responding to gun crimes. What, are they not paying them for doing their job any other time unless it's just a gun crime? I mean, they're going to pay their police and EMTs either way. How does it being a quote unquote gun crime change the cost of what the police and EMTs cost? If
here's a thought.
Either one.
Here's a thought. Build the frickin' criminal for what it costs to respond to their crime.
Yeah, but my point is they're paying them anyway. It's not like they're trying to make it sound like they're paying out extra costs because of all this gun crime. And that's a flat out lie. They're paying these people the same amount either way. You don't get bonus pay for responding to a crime if you're a police officer. You get paid the same amount of money either way. You get what's called a salary.
I would imagine that the vast majority of your EMT calls are accidental overdose or some type of interaction with a drug. So who's gonna
now? How dare you put the blame for this on those poor people with that disease?
Hey, I mean, one of the corner boys are gonna have to kick in next time Pookie overdoses.
Hey, keep in mind, this is, for all intents and purposes, suburban San Francisco. Is anybody really surprised that they would do this kind of thing there?
No.
How much is the tax?
They haven't said yet. The closest thing to a figure they trotted out was a couple $dozen.
Per gun one time, every year?
Every year. And probably per gun, of course. Can't have people having arsenals now.
Okay, so whoever wrote the article kind of left some stuff out, and I really don't think they helped by so the excise tax, the federal excise tax, is for conservation. It's not for crime. It's not for research. It's not for education. It's for conservation. It's hunting. It's to pay for hunting. Okay, the government costs for providing us with places where we can go hunting, which is kind of BS because guns aren't just for hunting. They do a lot of jobs. Okay, but that's what the excise tax is for. And I think it's very important if you want to make your point to explain that. People in the city who will never hunt are paying the federal government every time they buy handgun ammunition for people out in the country to go hunt. So these taxes, these fees, all this stuff, it's BS. Now, the fact that they have a background check fee, that's kind of BS because who the hell pays a fee to get a background check, right? That's weird. All right. That's something where the voters, what?
I have to pay for the background check whenever I fill out the 4473. It costs me $10 every time.
That's BS. The voters in your state, the voters in California, and voters wherever else should be the ones going, this is BS. In other states, they don't pay. It's a 4473. It's a NICS. It's a phone call. It's nothing. There shouldn't be a fee. If this guy wants to sell guns, if he wants to have a federal license to sell guns, this is what he's got to do. Just like you got to pay insurance or you got to pay a fee to the fire department to have chemicals in your building or whatever the heck it is. When you own a business, this is the cost of operating a business. This shouldn't be on the consumer. This should be on the owner. And really, there shouldn't be a cost for something that our tax dollars, like was explained, this is happening anyhow. So there's another argument. So the voters in this area or the voters in that state need to get their head out of their ass and they need to change things. And then as far as them using this to pay the cost of fighting crime, did we not see what they did with all the money they did when they sued the tobacco companies? They sure did put it into lung cancer research, didn't they? They sure did put it into programs for stop and quit. No, they put it into general funds. They put it into pork barrel politics. They put it into anything but anything having to do with getting people to quit smoking or finding a way to cure cancer or whatever this really was supposed to be for, what they said it was for. This is the government doing what the government does. And if left unchecked, that's what will happen. This is where people need to go down to the meetings, down to where if this is in San Jose, California, where the city council gets together or writing the mayor or doing whatever it takes to get these elected officials to know that if you pass this, like you pass so many other things, we will vote you out of office one way or the other. This is once again, Californians need to get off their ass. If there are millions of these people that say they are pro Second Amendment, but yet they're not in the cities, they're not okay, well then I guess San Jose is going to be one of those places where maybe you should move out to the country, or don't carry a gun in the city, or whatever. Don't do business there. I don't know. But you people have to get up off your butts. If you don't, there's nothing I can do for you here in Michigan.
So this is where I'm going to go ahead and put on my my crystal ball reading glasses and gaze deep into it and make a prediction. I predict that eventually this isn't going to pass constitutional muster, because this is putting a tax on the exercise of an enumerated constitutional right. Because I'm telling you, my argument against this legally would be that it's the same as requiring a tax to vote. It is the same as requiring insurance to vote. It's the same as paying a tax for free speech. It's the same as requiring insurance for free speech or worship or any other constitutional right. I can't see, and maybe it's because I'm not a lawyer. Maybe it's because I'm not a politician. Maybe it's because I'm just a fat loudmouth with a camera and a microphone. But I cannot see how placing a tax on this can be constitutional at all. I think.
would agree.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I would agree, except for one problem.
Ninth Circuit.
Though, the Ninth Circuit and the NFA.
Well, what about the deal with the Obamacare? Is that comparative to what is going on here? Because didn't Roberts? I'm not 100% sure, but didn't Roberts say since it's not a fee, it's a tax and it's cool? Is that on the same type of level?
Yes, but healthcare is not a constitutionally enumerated right.
Yeah, no, I understand that part. I was just talking about, like, you were talking about the lawyer's mind and the lawyers thinking on paper how they could word it. So I didn't know if it had any kind of similarities to it or not.
Let me go back to here's the litmus test for me. Let me go back to the article. I'm going to change a couple things. Voters in San Jose, California will soon face a yearly tax and be required to carry additional insurance after the City Council voted unanimously Tuesday evening to impose the new measures. The forthcoming fee for voter registration in the city has not yet been determined, but officials said that anyone found to be in noncompliance will have their voter registration card confiscated. The City Council's aim is to try to recoup the cost of responding to voting incidents. According to the Pacific Council on Research and Evaluation, which studied the case and sent a representative to testify before the panel, voting-related incidents cost the city roughly $63 million every year in the way for paying for police, medics, and other expenses. The new measures just come weeks after a disgruntled Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority employee ran away with ballot boxes and at a San Jose election center. Let's see, where am I going? Where is this? But you see my point. Liccardo suggested the new annual fine will likely be a couple $1,000 and claimed insurers assured the city that voters adding voting liability coverage to existing policies would cost the affected citizens little or nothing. But with no official registry of voters, either locally or federally, officials recognize that enforcement of the forthcoming taxes and insurance requirements could be difficult, if not impossible. So they say they would authorize any law enforcement officers to confiscate the voter registration card of any voter that they stumble upon who does not provide proof that they have complied. So that reads, when you substitute voting for guns and gun ownership, egregiously, that's poll tax, which is unconstitutional. That's voter ID, which the libs scream against. Even requiring a simple freaking driver's license they scream against. Now, we all know why that is, and that has not, but, you know, their shadiness is well known on that. But you see my point. This cannot pass constitutional muster for guns, because it damn sure wouldn't pass constitutional muster for voting. Am I completely stupid here, or is it just that I'm not a lawyer and I don't understand the complexities and I should stay in my lane, peon?
Budget, this is really simple to resolve. If you live in San Jose and you enjoy freedom, sell your fucking house and move out of San Jose. Quit paying property taxes there. Quit doing business in the city. Do your grocery shopping, do everything you outside of the city. If you can relocate your job, go ahead. If not, okay, you got to drive in the city and you may be stuck with city income taxes if they have that, or on occasion having to gas up in the city or deal with some other city expenses. But for the most part, your best bet is to move out of that municipal. This is what I tell people in California all the time. Move. You're never going to win there. Leave. If all of you, if there are like 8 million of you in California that are so pro 2A and you just bailed tomorrow, the state would collapse on itself. It would collapse on itself. Leave. You can. People say, it's not easy to leave. You can. Yes, you can. As many times as I've moved in my life, you can leave if you want to. It's not easy. It's a pain in the ass, but it's not impossible. It's not like this instrument. Leave. Tell them, you don't want us here? Fine. You don't get our money. You don't get our tax revenue because we're the only ones working. Everybody else is crapping in the street homeless, and you're providing them with all this stuff at government expenses, and we're walking over them to get to work. We're leaving, and we're taking our tax revenue of every sort with us. Goodbye. But they won't. They will not do it because, like so many other people, they're afraid of change.
I don't know the demographics of San Jose, so I'm going to just stereotype them and assume that it's California City. Like, so it is what it is. I don't know if using the change, like you were just doing budget, changing the word gun into voting or speech or any other right, because I think that they've got it in their mind that they're not gun owners and they don't care. They've got that left coast attitude about guns. So yeah, charge the gun guys. You know, I don't know if their mentality would help. That argument would break through that deep-seated anti-firearm. What's the word I'm looking for?
Bias.
Bias. Yeah, that's a perfect. Yeah, I mean, it's so deep-seated, and like I said, I'm just stereotyping it. If people out there are like, no, San Antonio's got guns laying in the street, they're awesome. And then okay, whatever. Or San Jose, but I think that the depth of hatred and bias against the Second Amendment and firearms, really, there's probably no arguing with them about it. Like, you couldn't make that argument that what if we were doing it to your voting?
As far as the constitutionality, the original question that you asked, no, you're not wrong. The problem is, if all things were equal, yeah, that will be declared unconstitutional. But I got a feeling of if this goes to the courts, they're going to point to the NFA and say, look, the federal government taxes certain types of firearms. Why can't we? And the court's going to sit there. They're going to scratch their head and say, yeah, you know what? You got a point. They never declared that unconstitutional, so this must not be unconstitutional either. Yeah, no disagreement there. But that's what they're going to do. They're going to point to the NFA. This is going to end up in the Ninth Circuit if it goes through the federal system and not the state system, which is state courts.
Yeah, Benitez will say it's unconstitutional. Then a 3-judge panel will overturn that, and then it'll go to en banc, and then they'll say, yeah, this is constitutional, let's go. And then someone will say, SCOTUS, please, let's take this, and then SCOTUS may or may not take it.
It won't even get the Benitez. Benitez is in Southern California. This will go to whoever's in Northern California.
You're right.
Yeah.
The big picture.
Go
ahead. No, you go ahead, Kingpin.
Well, I was actually going to say, I think Squibby, even though some people might have an issue with his mannerism or where he's really hitting the nail on the head. The courts are not going to help us at all. The politicians are not going to help us at all. You have to put your shoes on and vote with your feet in order to do something. I think it's really come down to where you have to take control of your specific life and make the uncomfortable changes to have the better life that you want, or to get away from the nonsense that you're trying to get away from, or whatever the deal is. If the people in San Jose just sit back and wait for the Supreme Court's eventually going to rule against them, whether we think it's right or not. I mean, we just look at the way things go, and all the rulings that come out, and stuff they won't look at, stuff they will look at. Your politician, you voted for them because they said they were going to put a stop sign there, and then they never did. You know, that voting in democracy means that way. Political means, I think we're really holding our breath for something that we're not going to get.
The big picture for the rest of the country is that if this sticks and it doesn't get overturned, then other places that are free, that are just looking to cash in, they may not even be anti-gun, they're just looking to pay for their pet projects, will copy this. Once again, California has effed the rest of us. This is why so many people are like, quit picking on us, quit being so mean, quit saying so harsh. You guys have screwed us on California emissions. You've screwed us on gun rights. You've screwed us on so many things because you guys didn't do anything. You didn't do anything 40 years ago, 50 years before some of you were born. I get it, okay? Some of you are saying, look, man, this happened before I was born. And you're right. But the whole thing is that stuff spreads to the rest of the country. If you don't stop it there, and we can't stop it, we're all in different states. None of us here can vote in California. We can't do anything. I love the vacation in California, okay? If I have to boycott California by not spending my vacation money there, I won't, okay? But what I'm saying, though, is short of that, there is literally nothing we can do. It is up to you. And if you don't do anything, and then they get this idea in a city in Ohio, or get this idea in a city in West Virginia or Maryland or Michigan, we know where the idea came from, don't we? It came from San Jose, California. It doesn't matter. It's the fact that if they even try and we have to fight it, if we have to even waste our breath fighting it, who's responsible? The people in California who screwed the rest of the country. So figure it out or get out.
I'm not saying don't continue to use the political and legal means. I'm just saying don't rely on them. Like, while you're waiting for your court date, it might be a good idea to look at some real estate somewhere else. I wouldn't start looking after the court tells you, we disagree with you.
I know what. I would certainly leave San Jose. That's just me.
Sometimes you got to vote, do what the old expression, vote with your feet.
Yep. So go ahead.
That's fairly simple to do as well. For those that are scared to change their lives, okay, going from San Jose to the nearest suburb that's probably cheaper to live in anyhow is not hard to do, people. And I understand this year the housing market is what. Okay, fine, do it next year, do it the year, whatever. Make a plan, stick with it. Something, but do something. Quit doing nothing. Because it affects the rest of us, and that's why we're bitter.
Yep, absolutely. And there's nothing we can do about what happens where you live. Next up is this piece from, where is this from? Armed American News by Lee Williams. Opinion. Leaked report shows ATF considers private gun makers to be criminals, terrorists, and extremists. If there's any federal agency that can be counted on to create a problem just to justify their own existence, it is certainly the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. When it comes to overhyping the next threat to the homeland, regardless of the facts, the ATF seldom disappoints. The embattled agency's latest piece of creative fiction is a warning about privately made firearms, or PMFs, and it should serve as a warning to gun owners, home builders, and everyone else who values their civil rights. An ATF document entitled First Responder Awareness of Privately Made Firearms May Prevent Illicit Activities was published last week by the Joint Counterterrorism Assessment Team, JCAT. JCAT is a collaboration by the NCTC, DHS, and FBI to improve information sharing among federal, state, local, tribal, territorial governments, and private sector partners in the interest of enhancing public safety. The document states, this product is not in response to a specific threat against the United States. It provides general awareness of, considerations for, and additional resources related to terrorist tactics, techniques, and procedures, whether domestic or overseas. To be clear, the ATF and JCAT consider home-built firearms terrorist tactics, techniques, and procedures, even though Americans have been making guns legally in their homes since before there even was a United States of America. The document was never supposed to be leaked to the media or the public and is exempt from discovery through the Federal Freedom of Information Act, but some freedom-loving soul published it online yesterday despite its ominous warning. Warning: this document is unclassified for official use only. Do not release to the public, the media, or other personnel who do not have a valid need to know without prior approval from NCTC, DHS, or the FBI. This document may contain U.S. person information deemed necessary for the intended recipient to understand, assess, or act on the information provided. Additionally, this document may contain information exempt from public release under the Freedom of Information Act. Let me see. Where did they have a link? Published it online. Oh, let's open this link in a new tab. It's over here. I will go ahead and post this link in the chat so that you can all read this at your leisure and enjoy getting the information firsthand for yourself, right? Because I think that's what we all should do, is read stuff for ourselves, not rely on someone else's opinion or what they're saying. With that being said, now I'm going to go back and give an opinion and say about it. So, where were we? Okay, there, we read the warning. Criminals and other violent extremists continue to seek ways to acquire firearms through the production of privately made firearms, PMFs. ATF's document warns, PMF awareness and identification can aid PMF recovery, prevention of illicit activities including terrorism, and overall first responder and public safety. Evidently, even the ATF was worried that their door kickers might go too far again. They can't afford another Waco or Ruby Ridge, so they included a subtle warning before things get out of hand. Note, many of the activities described herein may involve constitutionally protected activities and may be insignificant on their own. Action should not be taken solely based on the exercise of constitutionally protected rights. Yep, those pesky constitutional rights tend to get in the way. Much of the advice the ATF passes on to first responders would be laughable were it not for the fact that Americans have a right to make firearms in their own homes. Apparently that doesn't matter. If you're found with 3D printers, printing mediums such as plastic, ceramic, or metal spools, or place what the agency considers to be too large of an order online, you're going to be suspected of terrorism or violent extremism, even though your actions are perfectly legal. Gee, I just ordered a whole bunch of Kydex and holster molds and stuff for making Kydex stuff. I wonder if I'm on a list. Well, I'm probably on a list anyway. If I'm not, I guess I'm not doing it right. I have written about the need to abolish the ATF before because no one seems capable of reining in the rogue agency or forcing them to accept the fact Americans actually do have constitutional rights. This is more important now than ever before because Biden's nominee to head the ATF, David Chipman, is a paid anti-gun activist who would definitely take the agency in the opposite direction. If Chipman is confirmed by the Senate, this leaked ATF report is just a warning of more serious civil rights violations yet to come. So, yeah, you may be considered a terrorist because you are making guns in your home, even though it's constitutionally protected activity and perfectly legal.
You know,
shame on
what I
you,
find
peasant.
disturbing, that subliminally I want to buy an arrow lower because of your screen share.
What's that?
Subliminally, I want to buy an arrow lower because of your screen share.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I see that.
It's like the Jedi mind trick. You should get a cut of that.
I should.
Welcome to MK Outdoor Journals, proudly sponsored today by Aero Precision, American made, and
I would totally shill that.
Else.
I would totally shill that.
Yeah, but the thing
nice.
is, you could shill it and not feel bad because they make good stuff.
Yeah. So, Aero Precision, if you're listening out there, holler at your boy.
I might have to get out the credit card.
Yeah, I'll buy Aero Precision if they start sending you some cash.
Is it bad that I'll buy Aero Precision even if they don't?
No, because I'm considering buying an arrow to do my next AR anyway.
Capitalism, baby, capitalism. Wonderful stuff. So there we have that. I gotta say that the ATF's decision to try to classify Americans as terrorists because they want to build guns at home is just downright stupid. Speaking of downright stupid.
And now prepare yourself for another tale of stupidity in this episode of Moron of the Week.
Normally, this is where I would go through some different stories and tell you about people who've done things that are so stupid this week that relate to the Second Amendment, and we'd vote on which one's the dumbest. But I've already given you the stories of the ones I would have picked. So we're going to go ahead and vote on these. The San Jose City Council for passing a tax and insurance requirement on Second Amendment related stuff in exercise thereof, i.e. guns. David Chipman for his possibly racist comments in 2007. The ATF for that stupid memo they just put out about home-built firearms, privately made firearms, PMFs, being a sign of domestic terrorism. And then Joe Biden, just because, Joe Biden. So who do you guys think deserves the title of Moron of the Week the most? Kingpin, which one do you vote for? San Jose City Council, David Chipman, Joe Biden, or the ATF?
I'm going to go with the ATF with a full 100% of my vote for that for sure. No question asked. ATF big time on that one for me. And I'd like to say the rank and file. I know we always like to say it's the brass, it's the people in charge. Well, I'm putting it on everyone that wears that badge.
All right, Rich, who do you like for Moron of the Week this week?
Well, I've said in the chat before, I think we should retire Joe Biden, just put him in the Hall of Fame, so that way it gives other people a chance. Because, there's morons out there that aren't getting the votes because Joe Biden. So I'm going to echo Kingpin, and I'm going to go with the ATF on this one.
Squib, who do you like?
I'm afraid I'm going to have to be a little bit different and go for the AFT because the highest office in the land is pushing them and all the good things that they do for the subjects of America.
That's right. All right, folks. Who do you like the most? San Jose City Council, David Chipman, Joe Biden, or the ATF, AFT, FAT, EIEIO, whatever you want to call them? Let's see. Who do we got? We got Patriot says. Who would Patriot see? I don't even see. Patriot says the FAT. So we'll go ATF on that one. So that's 4 for ATF. Anybody else got any opinions on this one? G23 says ATF. That's 5 ATF. 5 for the ATF. They're running away with this one. Up, Jason Stewart says San Jose. Why, hello, Ron 2A Matters.
Thought I saw another vote out there for the AFT.
Yeah, Pat Walsh.
Yeah.
Yep, Pat Walsh, there we go. ATF, 6 for the ATF, 1 for San Jose City Council.
You know what's the opposite of the AFT section?
What's that?
The bow, the BOW. Bow. Bow before
right.
the bow comes before the AFT. They're trying to tell you to bow before the AFT.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You're giving Joe Biden way.
Patriot says I voted for number 3 an hour and a half ago. Yeah, you're right. You did.
Yeah, but nobody listens to Patriot. It's a Patriot.
Oh!
Yeah, he's blind. You got to talk louder.
Why
All
do you
right,
think I
folks, we
talk
got
so
6
loud?
for the ATF, 1 for San Jose City Council, and none for David Chipman and Joe
7.
Biden. 7 for the ATF.
Under the
So
wire there.
we're going to go ahead and call this one for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. You are the morons of the week.
And there we had another tale of stupidity in this week's episode of Moron of the Week.
Although now I should probably order a bulletproof vest for my Chihuahua. So I'm sure I'll get a visit. Well, folks, those of you who've been around for a while know what's coming up next. We just selected the moron of the week, so we have one thing left to do, and that's talk about Roll Call 219's favorite segment, self-defense shoutouts.
Yay!
Self-defense shoutouts are not where I'm reveling in the proposition that the bad guy won the room temperature challenge by taking a dirt nap. It's where I'm reveling in the proposition that the good guy had the means, method, and opportunity to prevent the bad guy from making him do the same. First up in this wonderful section, this is a piece from July 1st by Tom Knighton. Armed elderly couple in Modesto, California, stop home invasion. For most of us, one of the scenarios we're concerned with is someone coming into our homes. That's why so many of us are armed in the first place. We've read the nightmare accounts of people who weren't and were beaten and tortured. Those were the lucky ones. They at least survived the encounter. Not everyone does, which is why millions of people buy their first gun every year. Even more are doing so now. An elderly couple in Modesto, California is a prime example of why it's a smart move, too. During the investigation, law enforcement learned a woman attempted to break into the home occupied by an elderly couple by smashing a sliding glass door with a fire extinguisher. A press release from the Stanislaus County Sheriff's Office says the elderly couple called their neighbors for help, then armed themselves with a firearm to defend their property and told the woman to go away. The homeowners continued to warn the woman, who kept trying to break into the home while threatening to kill the couple. It was then that the elderly woman homeowner shot at the woman. The suspect was able to break into one of the couple's cars, where she eventually died. Investigators are calling it an act of self-defense, which seems pretty clear-cut. Let's remember that there are people out there who seem to believe this couple should be dead. They argue that private citizens don't have the right to determine who lives and who dies in such events. Still, others I've encountered will try to claim that it's a matter of insufficient training. This couple just didn't know how to deal with the threat without using lethal force. Yes, someone actually made this argument to me, and it was someone I knew pretty well, actually. Others would probably think that this couple should have done is use de-escalation techniques that would have toned down the situation and all would be well. Of course, all that's complete and total BS. When someone tries to smash their way into your home, screaming that they're going to kill you, you should do what this couple did. They believed her, and then put her down like a rabid dog. At the end of the day, there are two things that matter. Are you alive, and are you still free? So long as you meet those two criteria, all these armchair experts can take a long walk off a short pier. Good on this couple for not just doing what needed to be done. After all, who might have been next? But also braving the entire California legal system in order to get a firearm in the first place. They're alive, and there's no way the police could have gotten there fast enough to have saved their lives. Hell, even the neighbors didn't get there quick enough. That's something for anti-gunners to keep in mind when they decide to lecture us about how the police will swoop in and save us if we don't have guns. Let's see, we got another one here. This is a story from Tejas. I believe it's from Texas. Yes, click2houston.com. Father shoots man suspected of peeping into his daughter's bedroom, HCSO says. Deputies with the Harris County Sheriff's Office say a homeowner shot a man suspected of peeping and inappropriately touching himself outside his 10-year-old daughter's window. It happened in the 15,000 block of West Little York in northwest Harris County early Monday morning. She looks over at the window, and this guy is at her window, the girl's mother, who does not want to be identified, told KPRC2. I can't say that he tried to take my daughter's innocence away. He took my daughter's innocence away. This mother heard her daughter scream, and she and her husband rushed out of the house with guns to confront the man. They are both licensed handgun carriers. I'm literally saying you're not going anywhere, the mother said, as she described how the suspected people was trying to get away. The couple followed the man to the Valero gas station across the street. As the 10-year-old's father went inside to tell the clerk to call 911, his wife stayed outside with the suspect. He's wrestling with me with my gun, and I'm like, I'm not going to let you get my gun. You're not going to kill me or shoot me, she said. My husband just said he heard a caca, but by that time the guy had already grabbed me, got my gun, and pulled it on myself. That is when the woman said her husband shot the man. We didn't want this guy to get shot. We were waiting for police to detain him because I'm pretty sure if he did this to my children, he's doing it to a lot of other children out there, she said. We are praying for the suspect, and we are also praying for his family. Investigators say the suspected peeper is in critical but stable condition. I know that at the outset of this I said I'm not reveling in the fact that the bad guy got shot. In this case, I'll make an exception.
It's a shame he survived.
Yep. I wouldn't mind him still being alive if he was like shot between the legs or something like that and he was paralyzed for the rest of his life in excruciating pain. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, that would be all right. Next up, from Saturday, July 3rd, Macon man shot to death during fight at ex-girlfriend's house. Macon, Georgia. A Macon man was shot to death after visiting his ex-girlfriend's house early Saturday morning. It happened on Dawn Street around 3 o'clock a.m. So, first off, this first sentence is egregious for these people, for WGXA News to write. Because listen to, visiting. Listen to what they consider visiting. Deputies say Anthony Burke got into a fight with his ex-girlfriend after kicking open the door and busting a window. During the fight, the ex-girlfriend's sister's boyfriend tried to stop the fight, and Burke was shot while struggling over a gun. Burke was pronounced dead at the scene by the Bibb County Coroner's Office. The Sheriff's Office say Burke had active warrants out for battery and criminal damages to property from previous incidents with his girlfriend. So why in the hell would a Macon man was shot to death after visiting his ex-girlfriend's house early Sunday morning? That makes him sound innocent as apple pie.
Oh, he didn't kick the door in. He just knocked really loud, and it just fell off its hinges.
Yeah, I mean, it was shoddy workmanship.
Yeah, exactly. Kingpin, you need to go down there and fix those doors for them, man.
That's right.
I'm on it.
Next up from KY3.com, homeowner shoots man who reportedly broke into his home west of Springfield, Missouri. This is from July 2nd by KY3 staff. Authorities say a man who forced entry into a home west of Springfield was shot Friday morning. The Greene County Sheriff's Office is investigating the shooting, which happened just after 6:30 Friday morning. Deputies went into a house in the 6,000 block of West Independence. That is an outer road of I-44 near Highway MM, just west of Springfield. A spokesman for the Sheriff's Office says the initial call was for a possible residential burglary. When deputies arrived, they found a man with a gunshot wound. Investigators say the man forced entry through the front door of the house, then the homeowner shot him after a confrontation. It's unknown where the man was shot or his condition, but the Sheriff's Office says the suspect was injured and taken to the hospital for treatment. Sergeant Jason Winston says it's still early in the investigation, but at this point, they don't believe the homeowner knew the man who was shot. We have no idea what the motive was behind this, said Greene County Deputy Jason Winston. I'm sure detectives, when they do that, their interviews and things like that, they'll find out more details. But as of now, it's still early, it's still fresh. Next up, is from WFTV.com from July 2nd, Orlando, Florida. A man was shot by a homeowner after he broke into an Orlando home, police said. Just before 6 p.m. Thursday, officers said that they responded to a home in the 2900 block of Lake Arnold Place in reference to a residential burglary. Police said a girl was home alone and called her parents about the intruder. Neighbors also called 911 to report the suspicious person. Investigators said the suspicious person, a 30 to 40-year-old man, was acting strange and had entered the home. Officers said the homeowner rushed home and confronted the man. Investigators said the homeowner fired a shot at the intruder as officers were arriving on scene. Police said they heard the gunfire and called for emergency assistance. Officers said they detained the shooter and rendered aid to the suspect who had suffered a gunshot wound. The man was taken to a hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. No other details were available. I gotta tell you something. Were it me, I probably would have done the same thing. My young daughter home alone, and I get a call like that, I'm going home. And if I find a dude in there doing anything in any way threatening, I'm putting a bullet in his ass too. Well, not his ass. You know what I mean. But there we have it, folks. Several instances where, despite what the media would have you believe, the good guys used firearms to stop the bad guys. And on that note, we are going to go ahead and wrap this up, folks. I appreciate every single one of you being here. I particularly appreciate my esteemed and illustrious panel. Squibload, is there any final thoughts you would like to leave us with? Anything you would like to plug, sir?
Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead and plug one of my channels for a change. I'll put a link out there to a very short video I'm posting today on one of my B channels. And if you don't watch it, don't worry about it. Nobody cares, not even me. Thanks for inviting me, and good conversation this Saturday night.
Hey, always welcome, no matter what the day is, and I'm glad to have you. Speaking of glad to have you, we got Rich White. Is there anything you'd like to leave us with, sir?
Yeah, I turned around and walked away. The little bastard shot me in the ass. If you know the reference. That's the first thing that popped into my head when he said about shooting the guy in the ass was Blazing Saddles with Gene Hackman's telling him, I mean, not Gene Hackman, Gene Wilder's telling him why he stopped being the gunfighter. But, anyway.
A movie which could not be made today.
Yeah, Mel Brooks has said himself he could not make that movie today. But, here in a little bit, we'll have the Saturday Night Wrestling chat over on the Unloaded Media channel. That'll be around 9:05 p.m. Eastern.
Is it a wrestling chat or a wrestling chat?
Pick your pick, either one. But we're also going to be talking about why today is important in U.S. history. Today gets overshadowed by what happens tomorrow, but there was another important event in the history of this country that took place today. In fact, it took place the last 2 days as well. So we're going to be talking about that as well. And then tomorrow night we will do This Week Unloaded. Both of those will be on the Unloaded Media channel, so be looking for those.
And last but most certainly not least, it's good to have you back with us, even if it is just because we're on an off day. We got the one, the only, the Kingpin himself, David Bowling. How are you, sir? And thank you for being here. Is there anything you would like to leave us with?
Just a great big thank you. I appreciate it. I do get all the invites, and I appreciate everyone, even though I can't make it on the show very often. But
work's got to come first.
Yeah, I really. I mean, I could kind of do the squib thing, but my work is considerably noisier than squibs at times, and it's a lot messier. So getting paint and drywall and stuff all over my phone isn't really going to work sometimes. But I appreciate being a part of this one, and thanks for having me.
Hey, everybody. Patriots out there, and says he got some new T-shirts, including #GoodGuy shirts. Go check those out. I want to say thank you to everybody out there for being part of this reignited dumpster fire. The first one had some technical diddlies, and I had to abandon it. I'm glad that I came back on instead of continuing with my rage quit. I'm glad that you guys decided to give this a second chance tonight. Just want to, as always, say, make sure that you tell your Congress critters and elected representatives what you think about their potential actions. Send them a snail mail, email, telephone, telegraph, carrier pigeons, bicycle messengers, anything that you have to do to let them know what you think, and never, ever, ever give up the fight. I'll see you guys on the next one.